Okay, well, formally, my name is Carson Milstead. 19, from Alabama originally, moved to Eugene the beginning of last year to start school. My choice of coming to the University of Oregon was a very spontaneous one. I didn't really know anything about Oregon or anywhere that really isn't the South, but I just was wanting to break out of the South. And we visited, and that's okay, well, there's where I'm going. I visited the day before you had to send in your decisions for schools. So it's just here I am. Best decision. They're like, I love Eugene so much. Everyone who knows me back home and other places is like, Carson never shuts up about Eugene. But I don't know. It's just a fun place with good people. But beyond those things, obviously I'm into photography. I really love music a lot. I used to be way more into music than I was anything else, but the more I get into more visual art, the less I kind of dabble in that area. And yeah, those are the good basics of Carson Milstead. Yeah, so the person who came over to model was my friend Grace, and when we decided we were shooting today, her and I have talked about shooting in the past. And I just DM'd her and I was like, hey, do you want to shoot Monday? She was like, yeah. And it was fast responding, and I was like, okay, perfect, there we go. So she came over, and I've met her a few times before, but we've never hung out, so it was our first time. We hadn't discussed outfitting at all. I just kind of asked her to come, and she did. So I was happy to see that she came in an outfit that I liked, but I had a bunch of stuff ready in case. But I always like not having to use my stuff because that means I can always use it another time. And it's things that I don't have, so it's I like shooting with things that I do not already have. So I was happy to see her outfit, and then did some natural shots, just kind of bare face, and then with the makeup, and then the first go round I was not happy with, but that always happens. I'm very go with the flow. Oftentimes I don't go in with a super set plan. So it's not out of the ordinary for me to do something and change my mind. So I just undid it, and then we got the last shots, and at the end it really came together. It always, people who aren't models, it always starts off where they're a little uncomfortable, and then they go into it, and then the last shots are always the best. And this shoot, the last shots were definitely good, and I'm very content with them. And it was it's always fun to just see people become more comfortable and more daring in their posing, which is exactly what happens with Grace. So that was fun to see. So my grandfather had an old camera, and I was just playing around with it, and I was like, this is cool. And then he was getting rid of it, so he was just like, oh, well, you can just have it, because I just bought a new one. And I was like, ha 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 ha. And he was like, no, seriously, keep it. And I was like, okay, I'll keep it. And then because I've had, my original camera was a Nikon D50, and I've had that since I was in 7th grade probably, but I never really used it. I was that girl who took pictures twice a year, was had a nice camera and does nothing with it. And then I started I just remembered that I had it, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna play around with it. And then I realized that I really enjoyed it. And then I just kind of started doing it more very casually, very bad photography. And then it just kind of spiraled. And then I once my grandfather saw that I was using it, he was like, if you want, I'll get you a newer, nicer camera. And then that's what I have now, the Nikon D7200. And honestly, kind of the exact same as the Nikon D50, except it's way more expensive and it takes video. But my picture outcome, of course there's little differences, but it's almost the same. But that's how I began, and it just spiraled, and then here I am now. I really enjoy color. I normally have pretty bright photos, color, love saturation, love a yellow tint, just a slight little yellow, little twingy in there. Always have had a focus on fashion, and that's becoming more developed as I learn more about fashion. And I like diverse subjects and diverse poses, which can be diversity can be difficult here in Eugene, Eugene is a very whitewashed city. Yeah. But yeah, lots of fashion. I've been trying to break more into set design stuff now that I have my basement and have my studio set up. But still have not delved as deep into that as I wish, but that's kind of my goal over the years, to get better in set design. But right now I would say my focus is definitely fashion and stuff like that. I want to just be doing commissions for magazines. I have like very basic, experience with working with magazines, but I want to get more into it or start working with a magazine more regularly, and just fashion editorial stuff mainly. And like, I'm sure I'll do like boring, stupid ad stuff for money, but I'm okay with that. You gotta make that money somehow. Gotta make the money to be able to do the things you enjoy doing. So I'm sure I'll be doing boring ad stuff like that. But also fashion photography is my definite end goal, like high-end editorial. My dream would be to work with, like big fashion companies. But that's far in the future, if ever. But I try to work as often as possible and get as much experience as possible. And I feel hopeful. I know I have dedication, so I feel hopeful that I'll be able to take that dedication into something real, you know what I mean? But for now, I'm in Eugene, working with people I know and kind of getting that experience working with that portfolio, and hopefully I'll get there eventually. I feel like diversity has definitely been getting better. I know for a while diversity was really, of course there's still diversity that needs to be like reached, but I would say that's one thing, but also I do acknowledge that like it has been getting a lot better, but still, there's footsteps to take in that area. I would also say originality. I feel like, especially in like, what's the echo chambers, like you get into these areas where people are just like really similar style, and I just notice like a lot of people like have really similar styles. I always appreciate when I can see a photo and I know who it's by. And there are like few people where I see a photo or see like on someone's story or a magazine, like, oh, that's blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, it is. And I feel like there needs to be more of that, like individuality to the degree that like you really stand out in your own work and you can notice, like be noticed like by your work and how it is. I feel like that's something that I feel like people need to reach more. And that's something that I've been trying to reach. I still have footsteps to take there, but I also find inspiration. There's a director named John Waters, if you've ever heard of him. He just makes very strange, weird movies, and they're just very outside of the box, and I find a lot of inspiration in those and how he collaborated with the people he works with. His movies were all made with a kind of a cast of similar people, and they're all just his friends, and they're like, oh, let's just do this, and they're all like, okay, and he like tells them what to do, and they're like, okay, I'll do it. And just the fashion costuming in those movies is really great, and I just always think of those. And then, as I said, just fashion in general always inspires me. And other photographers, I would say, and like classic photographers I try to look into and like just educate myself and just like know how different people do different things, and that kind of inherently influences me in ways that I probably don't even realize, But yeah, those were like my main influencers, I would say. One piece of advice I would give is like try not to copy people. Like I see some people say like, oh, I saw blah 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 did this and I really want to know how to do that, and that is like okay, to wanna, but when people like really go out of their way to adopt somebody else's style, it's like you are not gonna be able to find the individuality if you're always chasing the style of another, you know what I mean? And I feel like another way of falling into like a place where people recognize your work is it's almost kind of dangerous, like falling into like too much of a comfortable zone where you're redoing the same thing over and over again. So it's like finding the balance between like doing new things but also that set theme of your work, which is, it's just like, it's very hard to find. It's like I wouldn't even know how to describe how to find it. I feel like it just kind of has to happen, and once it does, you just run with it and take it and go and be happy that you found something that works for you. And I'm still like trying to figure it out. I'm getting there. I've gone through a few phases, but it's becoming more stable as time goes on, but still with more like diversity in the photo. Not so much like diversity. I mean like in like posing and subject and backgrounds and things like that. But yeah.